Welcome, Capricorn, to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 1st of June for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Going to share the big themes of the week ahead first of all. On screen is your event chart for Monday. I'll unpack that. That always provides an important backdrop. I'll then go through each of the influences in detail. At the end of the video, you'll have a clearer picture of what's upcoming in terms of your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Late last week, we had the blue moon, the full moon in the expansive fire sign of Sagittarius, which is very much a truth seeker. But on the other side of the heavens, the collective in Gemini of Uranus, the Sun, and Mercury, very much more to do with the practical dimension. But that moon for you in the very delicate 12th house. It's possible that balancing your emotional, spiritual, and psychological energy with some of the demands that you have in your situation could be the theme as you come into this week, but equally could just feel very sensitive. However, as we go into Monday, Mercury, the communicator, moves from a brittle part of your scope and into a more collaborative area where it's going to be for the following 10 weeks. Mercury usually speeds through each zodiac sign between about 14 and 21 days. So for 10 weeks, the reason for that is an upcoming retrograde, which begins towards the end of June on the 29th. But Mercury moving into the 7th house has lots of opportunities for you. So I can't wait to share that with you. But despite the fact that Mercury does move into that area, which is excellent for exchanging ideas and leaning into each other's needs, it does come into a tense right angle with Neptune on Thursday. Fortunately, your ruler Saturn forges a very solid link with the Sun on Tuesday. And that can help to ward off the confusing energy that Mercury Neptune can bring. So on the screen now, Capricorn, is your event chart. So as ever, we need to be mindful of your ruler, Saturn. It's continuing in your 4th house in the sign of Aries. And it's asking you over the next 2 years to really work at understanding your inner world. But it can also be terrific for using the industry and discipline of Saturn to get the home that you want, to get it organized in the way that's good for you. But last week it did forge a bruising right angle with Venus, and those two are still in touch as we come into this new week. So I think it's possible that there were some crosswords, and those crosswords may have been with someone you're quite close to, such as a family member, or just a relationship that in the past has flowed along well, may have felt more grating or cooler, or you may have felt that someone wasn't being as collaborative as they usually are. So that energy is still there at the start of this week. And we have that sensitive moon because of the amplification the Sagittarius energy can bring in the 12th house. But it could help you to think or look at an issue that's perhaps been pushed a little bit to one side, or you've not been completely conscious of. Maybe it's that frank discussion around that relationship. You're much more aware of what the issue is. But Mars in the 5th house of your chart gives you a great opportunity to still feel good about yourself, even if one relationship hasn't worked out. And just know, with Mercury moving into that 7th house, that collective, although initially still in contact with Saturn at the start of this week, as we go further into June, these guys are really going to be very helpful to you, not least in week 2, when we have Venus and Jupiter coming into an extremely rare conjunction in Cancer, where Jupiter's in its exaltation, and that could see a significant connection. It may be around a business alliance, it could be around a friendship where you really support each other, but it could be all-out romance too. But what you also have with Mars in Taurus is enthusiasm and passion. And even if there has been a sensitive issue that maybe you've had to become more conscious of, the Sun continues in that sixth house to ask you to refine, to get things working a bit more efficiently, but use the quick wits of Gemini in order to achieve that. And Saturn, your ruler, forges a very strong link with the Sun on Tuesday. So if you do want to get something still working more functionally, which is a very Capricornian thing to try to do, you most certainly can. But Mercury moving into the seventh house is brilliant uh, for listening, or at least sharpening up our listening skills. But Mercury generally doesn't fare so well in water signs, particularly Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, which can make us be a bit more subjective in terms of our thinking. But I think that that can be very helpful on the whole, particularly through to the 13th. It is going to forge the square with Neptune this week and then the square with Saturn, which could create some tension points. But generally, Mercury there is asking you to be, as far as you can in Cancer, a bit more detached. If people see things slightly different to you, don't take it so personally, which can be good because that helps to boost collaboration and cooperation. And a more harmonizing set of energies are developing for June. So even if there has been a pinch point, know it can ease. But for sure, Mercury does come into that square with Neptune. And if it has been someone in your family that you've just not been seeing eye to eye to, that could be repeated on Thursday, to be honest. The best way to deal with Mercury Neptune energy is just to be aware that it can affect our perception, and our perceptions in very subtle ways can be distorted, which is what Neptune does. For example, we can believe that what someone says because it suits our agenda. So if someone else is with us and say, "Did you hear that?" and they may actually recount it in a different way. So just be aware that that could be an issue this week too. However, Mercury does forge a beautiful link to the North Node on Wednesday. So if you are finding that collaboration building up with one person, do have faith that it can get stronger. I'm going to summarize the energies of vitality, work, relationships, and finances now, Capricorn. Just to say, you can now buy my personal horoscope reports, 3 for the price of 1. I've reduced the price. You get your life roadmap report free, your 12 months transit forecast, and also your Draconic soul analysis. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your June monthly forecast on the screen, your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, please see below to do so. Get your early day celestial pit stop fired to your device in the morning. So, to summarize, energy. Because the full moon occurs in the very psychological but tender 12th house, if there is something you've been worrying about, and it might be to do with work, or you feel that someone has perhaps had a little bit of an agenda that's been somewhat picky, but even if they haven't expressed it openly, that could affect your morale a bit, which can affect your physical energy too. So that is a factor. But you also can ask yourself honestly, are there parts of your practical approach to diet, exercise, and sleep, rest, that are not quite as virtuous as they could be? And is that having an effect on your spirit? So that's a good, honest question to ask yourself at the start of this new week. As far as your work is concerned, the good thing about having the Sun linked to Saturn on Tuesday exactly, but they are in touch all this week, is that part of you that can be very systematic and also very productive in your approach, where you don't just have an idea, you want to deliver it in a way which makes it functional. That's actually emphasized really well this week. Relationships, well, even if there has been one that's not been working out very well, do know that the atmosphere can change very quickly as this month goes on. There's going to be lots of opportunities for really important connections of all kinds. As far as your finances are concerned, with Pluto in the second house, I think there's a big evolution going on about how you view resources, your self-worth and value. But that link between Pluto and Uranus and then back to Neptune, ironically, is very strong if you're open to doing things in a fresh way. And that can include perhaps scrutinizing in detail the sixth house, whatever money you've got or the things you're buying, and see if you can be a little bit thriftier in your approach. And that can create more value for you. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Capricorn. Have a great week and look forward to seeing you again soon.